Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack, back again to bring you a Resto Shaman Mythic Plus guide for Season 3. Shaman has two fantastic hero talent specs this season with Farseer and Totemic. Both the specs, of course, have that Earth Shield they want to be applying on both yourself and an ally at all times. Farseer is summoning these ancestors, your grandma and grandpa, that are replicating your healing spells by casting Unleash Life and Ancestral Swiftness. These ancestors will cast similar spells to what you're casting, which feed into your Cloudburst totem and are replicated by Ascendants, and they also help you do more damage with their own damaging spells. Farseer plays around 15 and 30 second cooldown windows to summon ancestors, allowing you to do tons of damage or healing depending on the situation you need. Totemic is all about empowering your totems, where you have Surging Totem, which replaces your healing rain, allowing it to last longer and be moved with the Totemic Projection talent. Additionally, your Healing Stream Totem, Spirit Link Totem, and Healing Tide Totem all cast full strength chain heals when you activate those respective spells, allowing you to AoE heal extremely easily and conveniently. The Totemic Shaman will often just be focusing on hard casting more single target spells themselves and letting their totems do the AoE. The Shaman class also brings excellent crowd control with a great stun, the lowest interrupt in the game, and a knock-up to stop mobs and shut them down from dealing damage to your allies. In Season 3, Farseer looks to be the stronger option for doing more damage and more consistent healing, while also being very powerful with their incoming tier sets. But both of them are, of course, viable and in a great position, just like it's great to both like and subscribe to this video. The Farseer talent build is a little different than what you might expect, not taking Healing Rain or Acid Rain, since the damage is fairly low and usually the ancestors will do more damage adding Chain Lightnings for you, and as a result you're not taking a great talent in Deluge because it's kind of expensive to get there through a dead talent like Healing Rain. Instead, what you can do is you'll be running with Primal Tidal Core, which is nice for safety, although you can also put it into the other point for Ancestral Awakening, because that does do quite good healing as well. You can get some better healing out of Reactive Warding instead of Therazane's Resilience, but Therazane's is also super chill to just set and forget when it comes to your Earth Shields. Farseer also really benefits from having Haste, so you potentially could run Preeminence if you wanted to. That also makes your Deeply Rooted element stronger, but I actually like for most new players to start with First Ascendant, as it allows you just to have your Ascendants cool down your major cooldown back a little bit more rapidly. You are absolutely running Cloudburst Totem all the time. It's incredibly strong for Farseer, and since you're having a lot of haste, more ancestors than ever, they finally feed up your Cloudburst, it is an absolute must. What's also an absolute must is a great connection when you're playing, and that's why our sponsor for today's video, Exit Lag, is here to deliver. I've actually had a lot of experience with Exit Lag over the years. I used it when I lived back with my parents, like 8-9 years ago, when our connection was actually pretty bad, and I would get a lot of packet loss like randomly and just spike from like 60 to 80 ms to like 150 in the middle of raid nights, and I ended up using Exit Lag, which has been more optimized than ever with some of their AI route optimization to make sure that you have the best connection possible to the game when playing. But if you already have a good connection to your game, that's wonderful, and Exit Lag also has other tools to optimize your performance in each of the games. You can try it absolutely free. All you have to do is register for a new account, hit that download button, and it immediately starts a 72-hour free trial, so you can try it for yourself and you can see if it's going to be right for you, especially since there's a new promotion with Gamer Month. So if you'd like to give it a try, check out our link in the description down below, and if you use code JAK, you'll get up to 50% off of your subscription with Exit Lag. Huge thank you to Exit Lag for sponsoring this video. Let's continue. When playing as Farseer, you always want to make sure that you are coating your allies with Riptide during downtime. This is because the Flow of the Tides talent is increasing your chain heal output when you cast it on an ally with Riptide. This is also incredibly important when you're trying to set up for more burst healing. Whether or not you have your high tides as well, you need to have those Riptides flowing. Unleash Life and Ancestral Swiftness are how you're summoning your ancestors, and you'll want to be using these on cooldown. There are 15 and 30 second cooldowns, and it's immensely important to get those ancestors out and get them flowing. Once you summon your ancestors, you'll then activate your Cloudburst Totem, which will store additional healing off of your casts, and then if there's 3 or more allies taking damage, you'll want to cast that chain heal it's only 1 or 2, then you'll follow through with some healing surges. You will also be getting this bursty window thanks to your tier set bonus, where your 4 set is giving you additional cooldown reduction for your lava burst and for your riptides. So you might be tempted after you cast an ancestral swiftness to cast a lot of riptides. Ideally, you cast all those riptides before you cast your unleash and swiftness. You let those riptides kind of overcap because the 4 set bonus is also giving you an increased healing window. And this is a great time to take advantage of that tier set and buff up your cloudburst output and crank a huge amount of healing at a surge or chain heal depending on what the situation demands. In the downtime, that's where you're able to spread around those riptides as needed. You always want to make sure you're hitting your unleashed life on cooldown, as summoning those ancestors last an incredibly long time. They're very helpful for doing healing or doing damage. And when you're casting more riptides, during downtime, you do want to blanket your allies, but when you're in the midst of heavy healing moments, you can weave in riptides if they're buffed up by Coalescing Waters. Coalescing Waters cause the instant healing of your riptides to be drastically increased, and it's a very powerful spot heal that you can add into the equation, especially if you know there's enormous damage. You could chain heal twice, hit a 2-stack Coalescing Waters, chain heal 2 more times, and kind of jump back and forth that way. It's incredibly powerful for your overall output, and with more haste, you'll have more healing from your ancestors, and that'll only make your life easier. Additionally, whenever you're healing into big damage moments and building up your cloudburst output, you'll want to look at when the damage is ending. If it's at a boss channel and you know that the period is going to end, see if you can end your cloudburst on that last tick. Ideally, you'll let your cloudburst expire for the maximum output possible, but it's always something important to watch for when you're in dungeons, because if you don't have to cast another healing spell, you can then pop your cloudburst, have it fill in that gap, optimize your damage a little bit more instead. When it comes to dealing damage as Farseer, you always want to make sure you have your ancestors out first, of course, and in AoE situations, you'll be focusing on mashing that chain lightning button, but especially if something has a lot more health than others, it's really beneficial to start casting lots of lava bursts, not only for the damage, but also for buffing up your Master of the Elements. This is increasing the healing of your next surge by 30 to 60% since it stacks twice, and that can make your spot healing and on-demand healing extremely good. It's a great way to do damage and then make your follow-up spot healing and triage healing that much more safe. When it comes to stats for Farseer, you're going to want to focus on lots of crit and haste, followed up by versatility, and then avoiding mastery at all costs in dungeons. It's just not really a big priority for him. Haste is enormously valuable, and I see a lot of people preferring more haste in these early days, but don't neglect that crit either. Now, our Totemic build is going to be, of course, taking those Healing Rain talents and is going to be taking Acid Rain. So whenever possible, having your Surging Totem down in melee, still cleaving enemies so it can do damage and healing at once, is always going to be immensely beneficial. Another talent that's not taken by Farseer is called Downpour. After you've cast your Surging Totem, you will then have your Surging Totem button replaced by Downpour. And this is going to trigger an additional healing effect when you choose that will heal your allies and increase their maximum health by 10% for 6 seconds. It's a very solid instant heal, and it's very helpful when you can have your entire party stacked. Additionally, when you are playing as Totemic, after activating your Downpour, you also are getting a 150% buff to your next Chain Heal or Healing Surge. So you can time this Downpour to help you set up for more incoming burst damage. When it comes to how you're playing with Totemic Shaman, you'll always want to be coating those Riptides. Unlike for Farseer, where you focused on flow of the tides, you're instead running Ancestral Reach, and so you'll want to make sure you have these Riptides up on your allies for Deluge. This is causing a 15% increased healing buff on your allies if they are inside your Healing Rain or are affected by Riptide. This means that you'll prefer having Riptides placed first on ranged allies who may not be in your Healing Rain, while your Healing Rain is going to be focused on melee, so it's always going to be hitting those allies. You always want to make sure you have Totemic Projection on a very good keybind, because it's often going to be used to reposition whenever anybody's moving out of your Healing Rain. After you activate your Surging Totem, you also are activating 3 motes. Now, when you consume these motes by casting Healing Surge or Chain Heal, you are then going to trigger the other part of your tier set bonus, which is triggering another Downpour. What's going to happen here is by casting a Surge and casting a Chain Heal, you'll then consume all of those motes on your totem, trigger an instant Downpour after the effect, and then you're gonna of course have that buffed up chain heal right afterwards. The best way to make sure you're timing these correctly is I often am placing down my surging totem, casting a healing surge if it's needed, and then I'm trying to time my chain heal casts with incoming damage. Now, I'm not actually hard casting chain heal. Totemic does not hard cast chain heal. Farseer does, and that's for Farseer. What Totemic does instead is they cast their Healing Stream Totem, their Spirit Link Totem, or their Healing Tide Totem to cast the chain heals for you, and that's from a talent called Lively Totems. This is how you are producing the AoE healing of your chain heals, and you are using those abilities instead of actually casting the spell to cast those chain heals for you, because Totemic can burn through mana quite quickly. For a high damage moment, you might drop your Surging Totem, cover your allies in Riptide, be ready to activate a Downpour whenever big damage is going out, Healing Surge as needed, cast your chain heals if 3 or more allies are injured with Healing Stream Totem predominantly, weave in Healing Tide Totem as like a moderate level healing cooldown, use Spirit Link Totem for absolute emergency moments where you need to tie everyone's health together, and you want to make sure that you are casting lots of surges to even out the health bars while your totems are taking care of the AoE. Totemic will also want to make sure they're casting those lava bursts in downtime, as they are additionally running with Master of the Elements. It's a huge point of focus for the spec, since most of your focused healing is going to be on the healing surges from Master of the Elements, and of course having some buffed up Riptides thanks to Coalescing Waters. Totemic stats are going to be focused on crit and versatility, and they really don't care that much about haste or mastery, and those are going to follow. Just focus on lots of crit and verse. Let's talk about some bonus tips for both of the specs. Tidal Waves is a passive that both are talented into, which is reducing the cast time of your next healing wave, chain heal, and increasing the critical effect of your next healing surge. So for Farseer, you'll benefit from the chain heal and healing surge benefits. For Totemic, you're pretty much just going to be having Tidal Waves acting as a benefit towards your healing surge. But one important thing is you don't want to miss out on casting Riptides so much that you are losing Tidal Wave stacks, because every single time that you consume the Tidal Wave stacks, you have a chance to benefit from Water Totem Mastery, which is giving cooldown reduction for your Healing Stream, Cloud Burst, Healing Tide, and Poison Cleansing Totem if you're running that in Arakara this season. It's a really good way to make sure you have your resources back much more rapidly whenever you need them. You also want to make sure you're benefiting from Totemic Recall, which is giving you cooldown reduction, which is often going to be spent on your Healing Stream Totem as a Totemic Shaman, or on your Cloudburst Totem as a Farseer Shaman. I always like to make sure that I am not over-capping on my cooldowns. For example, if I hit a Cloudburst Totem and I have it on cooldown, it's steadily regenning, I want to activate Cloudburst again so that both charges are on cooldown, so that after I activate that Totemic Recall, I'm not wasting any potential cooldown reduction that Water Totem Mastery, for example, might grant me. Your largest healing cooldown is Ascendance, and since it's on the global cooldown, you'll also want to make sure that you're being very proactive with casting it, as it can be very easy to kind of get caught out in certain moments where you're a little bit more surprised. You want to be very preemptive with it whenever possible, and using things like Spirit Link Totem as your oh no button whenever huge damage is going out and you get a little bit caught off guard. You have some immensely powerful defensives as well as a Resto Shaman, with Astral Shift pretty much protecting you from any huge danger that's going out. And so with both subspecs, you have some downtime with either of them when you don't have Ascendance, or Totemic doesn't have their Healing Stream Totems, or Farseer doesn't have their Ancestors out, where you might just be a little bit out of gas. In those situations, that's a great moment for Spirit Link Totem. Healing Tide is kind of like solid cooldown for like moderate amounts of damage, but you might want to have something else with it if there's really big bursts of damage. But when you're completely dry, this is where you need to be more powerful than ever and more focused than ever on how you're utilizing your crowd control. In Pugs, you don't really know who's going to be stunning, who's going to be interrupting, and a lot of times when I'm healing keys and in Pug groups where I know casts are going off, I'll even just work to muscle heal through them with my healing cooldowns first. And then when I'm starting to run out of gas, I'll be even more focused on crowd controlling and stopping mobs until I have another cooldown at my disposal. Often I walk in, find the first caster that comes to mind, make sure I'm kicking them every single time, and then if I'm not having my healing cooldowns up, I'll focus on those moments for my Capacitor Totem or my Thunderstorm to sort of watch for when that incoming damage is going out and how I can best stop it as well. Shaman, super fun this season. Really highly recommend you guys dive into it, and there is a lot of utility going on for it. So if I missed anything, or if you have any specific questions, be sure to leave them in the comments down below, as I'll be happy to answer them. We also have more healer guides coming, so be sure to like and subscribe for more. Big love to our patrons for making all this content possible. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch y'all next time.